Hi folks, I'm Steve Hindy for Showing Animals Respect and Kindness. Welcome to our 2021 year-end video. The resounding theme of this and every shark year-end video, and of shark's method of operation generally, is that you have to go where cruelty is occurring if you want to make change. That has never been more important than today because there are so few animal protection groups in the field. Instead, they make phone calls and send letters and emails, which don't mean squat to animal abusers and the crooked authorities who protect them. For shark investigators, that means weeks and weeks gone from home, hundreds and hundreds of hours on the highways, driving back and forth across the country, from coast to coast, over and over and over, to get the places where we will use our long-range cameras, our drones, our watercraft, or whatever we need to document, expose, and stop animal abuse. It would take way too much time to completely retell stories of what happened all year, so I will be very brief, and we'll add links for videos giving much more detail in the description section of this video. Now, let's get to some of our more noteworthy efforts and successes for 2021. In the days immediately before and after the new year, shark investigators were busy in Alabama, North Carolina, Kentucky, and Ohio chasing cockfighters. This pit in Jackson County, Kentucky became active as our drone quietly recorded. That gave us time to contact the Kentucky State Police, who actually responded. We watched the cockfighters scatter like cockroaches when the lights are turned on, as they mysteriously got advance notice that the police were on their way. When the police did arrive, they did not make arrests, and that is a major mistake. These cockfighters should be arrested, prosecuted, and fined or jailed to make this law-breaking stop. What's the point of laws if they're not properly enforced? As long as the Kentucky State Police play games with these criminals or ignore them, cockfighting will continue. That's why we need for you to keep the pressure on. Things turned more serious the following day when we arrived at a cockfight location in Lawrence County, Ohio. There, shark investigator Adam Fonstock and I were attacked by two cockfighters, James Newcomb and Shannon Clark. Long story short, in November, James Newcomb was convicted of multiple felonies for the attacks and sentenced to 4 to 6 years in prison. His accomplice, Shannon Clark, is set for trial in February. Stay tuned. In March, the shark team headed to California, where our drones documented the illegal rooster farms that supply victims for cockfights. The county actually has a law against having more than 5 roosters on a property. It's a great law that the county put together more than 6 years ago, but interestingly, the law hasn't been enforced. We've made multiple trips to California to deal with this, and it's ridiculous that the county is working against its own laws. Clearly, there are cockfight supporters in Monterey County government who are intentionally mucking up the process, forcing us to spend time and money just to see current laws enforced. In April, we returned to the property of the planned Tiger King Zoo in Thackerville, Oklahoma. We had documented the property in December 2020. Now we return to film for the documentary Carol Baskin's Cage Fight. We ended up going back to the Thackerville property over and over in April and May because things were so bad. From the tiny cages to the terrible food to the despoiling of the property with garbage and the resulting millions of flies, the place was an ungodly disaster. Clearly, the federal government finally agreed with our assessment. In late May, federal agents raided the zoo, seizing 68 remaining big cats. A shark drone was there to film the seizure. It was a great day for the animals saved, but many animals were still not covered by the seizure, so we continued to document the dire conditions and to pressure the USDA to transfer the remaining animals to sanctuaries. Las Vegas investigative journalist Darcy Spears did a great story exposing Lowe's continued abuse and our efforts to hold him accountable. We've included a link to her story in the description section of this video. Finally, the U.S. Department of Agriculture moved in and took the rest of Lowe's victims. Whatever ridiculous, classless efforts the Lowes make to gain fame or fortune in the future best not include animals, or the Lowes can bet that Shark will be back on them. With the Shark team already in Oklahoma at the Lowe Zoo, we responded to a cry for help from good people in the town of Bartlesville, Oklahoma, where a family was keeping dozens of dogs and fighting roosters in terrible conditions. We used our drones to document the mess. The dogs were flea-ridden, and some were starving. The roosters were trapped in cages, standing in stormwater. The owners were nowhere in sight. Our repeated requests for help from the Washington County Sheriff's Office were ignored. Our pressure prompted the owner to move the animals out of the county in the dead of night. Law enforcement from 2 counties, as well as the tribal Marshal service, did absolutely nothing to help. This is something we will remember in future dealings in Oklahoma. Meanwhile, we're still watching for the owner and his abused animals to show up on our radar. In the good news category, the Minnesota Horse and Hunt Club ended the Ducks Unlimited live pigeon shoots that we've pursued since 2014. The club also ended the ridiculous hunting tournaments in which men and women ran around a field with loaded guns to shoot cage-raised pheasants and quail that had been shaken to make them dizzy and easy to find and kill. You may recall that we had already persuaded numerous corporate sponsors of this horrible, cruel spectacle to withdraw. In response, the club was able to line up Camping World, a company owned by Marcus Lemonis, the star of the television show The Prophet. We repeatedly asked and then challenged Lemonis to respond to the cruelty we repeatedly documented at the Minnesota Horse and Hunt Club, but Lemonis never uttered a single word on the subject. And we consider him to be an unethical coward of the lowest order. In July, 2 shark investigators attended the infamous Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo in Cheyenne, Wyoming. The CFD rodeo is, in our considerable experience, the most cruel and deadly rodeo in the world. There were, nevertheless, 2 pieces of very good news about CFD. First, Bank of the West, which had been a major top-level sponsor of the rodeo, terminated its relationship after more than 15 years. The rodeo industry is quick to point out that it cannot survive on gate receipts alone. That is why we apply pressure to corporate sponsors, and now the rodeo has lost a big one. Please see corporatethugs.com for other rodeo sponsors to boycott. The other major victory was Disney's cancellation of a planned movie which would have glorified the most cruel and deadly event of this most cruel and deadly rodeos, steer busting. We are extremely pleased that this project was killed. Such a movie would have inevitably spawned a great many young children with imaginations of becoming rodeo stars, and the animals would be the ones to pay with their very lives. Also in July, Shark prompted a bust of the Big H Cockfight pit in Laurel County, Kentucky. 8 people were cited. This stood out because of its rarity. Most cockfights we report are simply ignored by various local, county, and state police across Kentucky. We believe the Big H cockfight bust happened because Shark and the Humane Farming Association had just run ads in some Kentucky newspapers calling out state police for not dealing with cockfighters. We believe a lot more ads could prompt a lot more action from the police, but those ads cost a lot of money. If we had your support, we will be able to run more ads. A donation link is in the description section of this video. In more July action, we exposed another cockfight at the same place where shark investigator Adam Fonstock and I were attacked in January in Lawrence County, Ohio. We reported the illegal event as it was happening, and a deputy went to the property, but incredibly allowed the fight to continue. The deputy then lied about what happened in his police report.
One of your officers went to the location and they said that there wasn't anything going on, or was there something going on? Can you clarify that for me, please?
There was negative contact. Nobody was home or something.
What the Cockfighters and corrupt police didn't know is that there was an undercover investigator in the cockfight with an undercover camera. The resulting video documentation proved what happened, but incredibly, the corrupt authorities of Lawrence County have refused to press charges to this very day. This was a clear violation of James Newcomb's court bond, as Mr. Newcomb was one of the attackers in January, and this was clearly shown in the undercover video. Nevertheless, the sheriff and prosecutor of Lawrence County have refused to even respond to our demands that they do their job. That dereliction of duty by the authorities was exposed by award-winning investigative reporter Duane Pohlman of Cincinnati television station WKRC. We've included a link in the description section of this video, and I really hope you'll check out Duane's story. It's great. In Pennsylvania, our efforts against the few remaining live pigeon shoots continue. In 1989, I witnessed my first live pigeon shoot when I was a hunter-fisherman. I was shocked and disgusted by the cruelty and the waste of lives. Live pigeon shoots are the issue that turned me from being an animal killer and spawned the concept of shark. Tragically, the wealthy national humane groups that raised a lot of money off this issue in past years have long since moved on. Pennsylvania's more than 60 humane groups have abandoned the pigeons. Shark continues to document and expose this horrific cruelty and waste of life, and we will not give up until it is gone forever. Please help us with this fight, because it is Shark and no one else that will help these animals. In November, Shark made a return visit to Marshal Farms, located in North Rose, New York. Marshal Farms is not an actual farm. It is a concentration camp designed to produce beagles and other animals for vivisection like some kind of nightmarish factory. It was 2016 when we first went to Marshal Farms to document conditions for another organization. We used our drone to film the property, which is loaded with windowless buildings in which the animals are raised and housed. Our visit went without incident. After we left, however, and were about 10 miles away from the property, we were stopped by a trooper from the New York State Police.
You're being stopped because people identified your vehicle as flying a drone over the top of their property, and we're just trying to figure out what you guys were up to.
That's illegal?
Well, they just want to know who you were. They couldn't identify who you were. Do you guys have any identification on you?
So because they want to know who we are, you're going to tell them?
Soon, deputies from the Wayne County Sheriff's Department arrived. These police did everything they could to bully and intimidate us, including violating our rights and ultimately arresting us.
Identify yourself. Put the camera down. Ma'am, are you going to identify yourself? Camera down. Camera down.
Hold on, I haven't answered the question yet.
Being under arrest.
I haven't answered the question yet.
A lawsuit was filed on our behalf by lawyer Nora Marino, who is well known for her efforts on behalf of animals. For years, the government has claimed that its violation of our rights was acceptable. Our return to Marshal Farms succeeded in proving just the opposite, because this time, the police did not even bother to show up. And although we spent far more time documenting the conditions than we did on our first trip in 2016, nobody stopped us in any way. Very soon we will upload a video exposing the lies from Marshal Farms and the police who are in the company's pockets. If these puppy millers and exploiters of other animals thought this fight was over, they will find out just how wrong they were. Now, in December, the new cockfighting season is underway, but not for everyone. The Blackberry Pit is reeling from footage we recently aired of a young prostitute on site, supporting our claims of human trafficking being mixed with cockfighting along with illegal drugs and weapons. A number of pits are closed down out of fear of what is coming from us. The pits that remain open can look forward to lots of surprises, but they won't have a Merry Christmas attached. In just a matter of days, we will start 2022, which I hope will be a turning point in our efforts against cockfighting in Kentucky and other parts of the country. Besides Kentucky, we are currently conducting cockfight investigations in Ohio, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Texas, and California. More states will be added this year. Cockfighting is an especially difficult issue. You wouldn't think that to be the case because cockfighting is illegal throughout the United States by both state and federal laws. The problem is that the places where cockfighting thrives, cockfighters are protected by corrupt police, like infamous Sheriff John Root of Laurel County, Kentucky, or Clay County Sheriff Patrick Robinson, or any of the other crooked sheriffs in Kentucky. As we've said before, the Kentucky State Police are protecting the cockfighters, and police in other states where there's a cockfighting problem similarly protect the criminals. That means that cockfighting is the most dangerous issue we've ever dealt with, because the criminals have police as their security. We've actually received death threats from the police, and unfortunately, the federal agencies are sitting on their hands instead of making arrests. We could walk away from the danger. Other groups have. But retreat is not our way. We've seen the cruelty to the animals, and we know the hardship for good people at the hands of the cockfighting mafia. If we won't stand up to these thugs when their cruelty is illegal, how can we claim to be animal protectors? I hope I can count on your support, because it will take an enormous commitment of money, time, effort, and risk to force law enforcement to finally do its job. If you've supported Shark for a while, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I hope I can count on your continued support. If you're new to our efforts, I hope you'll see the value in our being on the ground or on the water or in the air as conditions may require, exposing animal cruelty wherever it happens, no matter who is committing the abuse. I'm Steve Hindy for Showing Animals Respect and Kindness.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel to see more of our investigations and learn what you can do to help Shark help animals. If you'd like to support Shark directly and gain access to exclusive content, please consider sponsoring us on Patreon.